Hello and welcome everyone to this next video of the Rent Your Stuff video series. So what we are going to tackle in this particular video is an issue that I have created lately, which is define rental periods on order instead of order item. So this is actually, some kind of, let's say, refactoring, which is related to the UI changes that we wanted to make, which is that the user has the ability here to select a time range where the whole order, is rented, and or where the items of all like all items are rented, not only one particular one. So currently you can see we have the starts at and ends at date here for one particular order line, and this can change per order line, and this is what we actually want to get rid of. And so the business requirement would be, as a rental business employee, I want to enter the rental period on the overall order instead of the order item, so that I can enter the rental period faster and don't have to deal with the complexity of multiple rental orders, can have different periods in my business. And in order to achieve that, what we can do is like two things. So first of all, we will adapt the UI and make this happen accordingly. And we have to change the data model and do a database migration. In this video, what we are going to tackle is, changing the data model first, and then, dealing with the migration of the data. Because as you can imagine, if we introduce a new field for the order, like let's call it pickup date and return date or whatever, and if these new fields, now need to be populated with some values, and hopefully with the correct values of the order lines. So this means that we have to do some data copy that is mainly a database migration script that we have to write in order to make that happen. So let's take a look on how we can pull this off. So what I have already created here is now an empty branch, and a database that has just the shape and form as we know it. So if we go to the order line, I can open here the columns section. You see we have this starts at and ends at, and in the order we do not have any attributes for the date range. So that being said, let's go to the order class and add two attributes. So this would be the pickup date, and it's a data type, and this would be local date time. And we can actually make this mandatory, since we know that for the order line also the attributes are mandatory, so there will always be data in there. So then the next thing is that we can say return date, and this will as well be local date time, and it will be mandatory as well. So with that, we can now go ahead and generate our Liquibase changelog. So let's actually take a look on what the result looks like. So first of all, as you can see here, it generated a new file. So let's just take a look in the projects view here under this particular file name, which we can first of all, rename in order to make it a little bit more readable. So this is, would be, let's call it order time range or something like this. And here you have these different change sets that are grouped within this file. And the first thing is that we say that we want to add a column with the name pickup date, and then we immediately add a not null constraint. And as you can see here, the Studio plugin generated the default null value for us, which is now, and this is exactly a thing that we have to change. So let's get rid of this, and also then in the next thing perhaps put those at null constraints a little bit down in a different change set. So although Jmix Studio generated these change sets for us, we are free to just copy and paste and do our adjustments that we would like to do. And so one thing would be that we can, for example, put the not null constraints here into a dedicated change set. And the reason why I want to do that is now that we actually have to take a look into our copying over of the data. So for that we actually need some custom SQL script that actually takes the values from the order line and then puts it into the corresponding order. So what we can do is, first of all, so probably let's just write such a script. So how is that possible now? What we can do is to create a new dedicated change set, and we just give it an ID and follow the author here, or just put the author, rent your stuff here. And then there are different change types that you can use in Liquibase, and one of them is just a SQL statement. And I think with here we can actually perform this SQL update that we would want to do. And yeah, I think what we have to do in order to take these values is basically write an update statement. So it would be update rys order, and I would give it an alias here O. And then what we can say is we want to set the pick update. And here we actually, have to do some select, as the value that we actually want to set is in the order lines table. So we can go ahead and create a subselect here. And now comes an interesting part. So first of all, we can say starts at. So it would be order line. And now what we can do is we can take, as we have this alias here, we can say where o dot ID equals, and then we can, reference, or we can actually do it the other way around. So where L dot order line, order ID equals OID. And writing it like this, which now will actually go ahead and basically do find the corresponding order line of the order that we have that we want to update, and then returns this value here and sets it into this pick update. So the problem now is that we do not have a one-to-one relationship, but instead we actually have a one-to-many relationship between the order and the order line. So therefore it might totally be possible that we actually have multiple return values here from our from our order line. And what, I was just thinking, perhaps it's actually a good idea if we just start our application and not do the database migration right now, and therefore I would say skip and launch application. And then we just enter some data so that we can actually take a look on how we can okay, yeah, so I just have a wrong, or like a not unique ID here, so this is why it will actually fail. But I was wondering why it even checks on that. Okay, so let's see if this is actually correctly starting up. So we have now our application, and here in the orders so currently we are lacking a little bit of data, so I will just fix that here for now, and then we will enter order date, and for that I actually need, okay, so this doesn't work, so let's go here and create a product, and then within this product we will create stock item entry. So when I now go here and select this product, or the stock item in particular, and select the date, then we should be able to see the corresponding values. And if we now okay, so yeah, this unfortunately right now this does not work, as we already have defined not null constraints. So let's just go ahead and fix that for the time being, and make that non-mandatory anymore. So it would be like this and like this. We can change that once again after we have created a little bit of data. So now actually, Jmix wants to remove the not null constraint. So I will just, I don't know, generate it, but not actually. Okay, so now it has been performed. Okay, so this is actually, I think it's a little bit, okay, so this is a little bit unfortunate because now it has actually performed this particular change, but I am not sure if it also performed this order time range. I don't, it actually it did. Yeah, and this might actually have worked as we do not have any data in our database. So, okay, so I screwed it up a little. Anyhow, let's just go ahead now and try if we can enter some data into our application, and then we have some data to actually perform our migration on, and then we can see if this works or not. So this would be this one here, and okay, so now we have the data accordingly into our put into our database, and if we go here and take a look, then we see that this is now a proper order, and it has right now it doesn't have a pickup date and a return date, and the reason for that the columns already exist is because I accidentally run all the migration scripts, including this order time range here, as I said before. So this is right now, it's not a big problem, and we can go ahead here in the order line and see that we have now one entry. So what we can now do is to say, let's give let's verify that our intended script actually is going to work. So if we go here and so do like this one here and try to execute this. Okay, so it should be update res order, and then put this. So let's see if we can run that. Okay, so this did not yet work. Let's see why this is happening. Okay, so we have return. Okay, so the IntelliJ session was not refreshed, and therefore, those two items were not actually present. So if I now run this, yeah, okay, so it just says that this is an unsafe operation because I actually execute all potentially on all records in the order table, and I will say execute. This is fine. And now we have run row affected. So let's take a look into the order and see how this now works. So we have a pickup date, and it's actually the correct one. It's the 21st of April at 9, and so this seems totally legit. So what we can now go ahead is to try to alter this order line and create another order line in this order. And here we have a different one. So yeah, this would be like 10 o'clock, whatever, and this would go same. So now an interesting thing happens. As we have two order lines, we actually need to find out which data we actually want to migrate. Because it's not clear which one of those two start date starts at values we actually should take when we want to put it into this one pick update field in the table. So probably, if we would ask the business side, they would, tell us, yeah, I don't know, come up with some strategy. Let's just assume we will, from all order lines, take the one that is, like the farthest away in the past. So it will be the oldest one, and for the end date we take the newest one. So this means that with our order or the range of the order is now actually the superset of all ranges of all order lines. And for that, if we now run this script here once again, then I would assume it actually causes some problems, because our statement here actually now should return two items. So, if we go ahead here in the order lines table, as you can see, we have two entries with the same order line, with the same order ID. So if we now, this one I wanted, if we now perform this update once again and say execute, we should have an error. And as you can see, more than one row returned by the subquery used as an expression. So what we have to do is to do some kind of calculation, or put this into one value, and which is right now a list of values of these starts at. And in SQL there are like a couple of functions that we can leverage for that. The min function actually will give us the smallest item of the result that we have, and in this case it will actually give us the starts at date that we that is the smallest. So we can just say that this should take the min one, and here it should take the max one of ends at, and this is not our pickup date but rather our return date. And I think it should be like this. So let's give it a try if this works. So yeah, okay, it says one row affected, and let's take a look on what is now in our order table. So we have the pickup date, which is the 21st of April at 9 a.m. and then we have the return date, which is the 5th of May. So if we go to our UI once again, then it took actually the 21st of April, and it took the 5th of May, so exactly what we wanted to achieve. So yeah, with that, I think we can go back to our query definition here, and then actually put the corresponding SQL statement in here. It is also possible to define a comment here. So just to write down what we are doing here. Let's just do that. Yeah, so we'll just copy it from order lines to order. And yeah, with that change that we actually have now correctly written a custom SQL script that does some particular logic. And yeah, I think with that we can actually clean up our our mess up that my mess up actually that I did before. And this one we would actually once again make it mandatory, and this one as well. So now it should actually be fine. And yeah, the next time, now what we can do is to run our application again, and let's see what happens. Yeah, so right now Jmix actually tries to add a new database migration, and this is because the current database that I'm having is because of this other migration script did not or does not have any null constraints on the timestamp and for the pickup and for the return value. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure on how we can now fix that. So the problem is actually that we would like to check if our new migration script is actually updated, is performing correctly, and so now we are in the situation there that this Liquibase update script actually already has been performed. And this is a general remark here also to our to the Liquibase change logs, is that normally those Liquibase change logs should never be altered or changed in any way, but rather you always append a new change log, because as you can see here in this database changelog table, we now have actually an entry. So we can make this file name column a little bit taller so that you can see it. There are now a couple of entries for this order time range that represent that these change sets have been, like all of the 4 changes that have been performed. And so this is why normally it's a little bit problematic to change these files. So instead, it would be better if we just create a new one. In my particular case here, first of all, it was just on my local test database, and secondly, I ran this execution, just accidentally. I would be fine to, just create. So the way I normally do this is to go to this application property and then say, okay, so please give me a new database by just changing the database URL. And if we do that and start the application, then first of all it says, okay, so this database is not existent right now. Okay, so this is fine, and then it will actually go ahead and perform all the migrations that are currently present, as we do not have any anything in the database yet. And this would also mean it would copy over or like perform this order time range migration. So we can go ahead and say, yeah, execute and proceed. And so this was working fine. So this means, generally speaking, our migration script is actually performing correct. But since I just generated a new database, this is actually, it didn't actually do anything here because there were no entries in the database. So for this video, we can close it off. In the next video, what we are going to do is to actually write some integration test on this particular Liquibase change set to see that this SQL statement that I defined here is actually doing what it is supposed to be doing. Because normally these, when working with the data, it's actually or like normally a crucial step to don't mix up anything or break the data. And why shouldn't we test these particular migration scripts as well if we also do a lot of unit testing for our business logic? I think there is no real difference. So let's see how we can actually write a particular unit test or integration test and actually basically set up some data in the first place before the migration, and then perform this migration, and then afterwards see how our data looks like. So this will be something for the next video. But I think for now we have now covered the general idea of writing a custom database migration. Okay, so then thank you for watching and see you next time.